Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Mosher's in today for Adam Kaplan. We'll get to him in just a couple of minutes here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Somebody texted in, Mike, can you clarify the fake news question? It was tough to hear. That's Matt in Sicklerville. So I guess that was the exchange right at the end there, that he was asked about something that happened in the Super Bowl. He was essentially saying, can you verify? So for those of you who remember, I guess there was a report at the Super Bowl that he ripped into the defense for the bad fourth quarter because, they were dominating the game. And I guess he was asked whether or not that was accurate. Did you rip into the defense in the Super Bowl for basically giving up points late in the game? He says that he got the defense together to compliment them, and not a negative word was said. So he basically said fake news regarding the story that he ripped into the defense in that fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. That Matt Sicklerville helped. That is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was the question that was asked.
That was right at the end.
It was at the very end, and Matt is right. The question, the audio was not. It was not easy to hear what was being said, but yes, it was about the report that apparently after the Xavier Worthy touchdown, there was a report that came out that Fangio basically laid into the defense for allowing that touchdown, but apparently Fangio says it was fake news.
Well, let's hear some more of the highlights here, because I want to kind of replay, if you can, Campbell getting work where? This is where Vic Fangio thinks that you could see Campbell getting work.
Well, right now he's working at ILB, so that's where we'll start him. He won't hit the practice field until, sometime in August. So we're doing all we can. He's doing all he can in meetings. We're doing all we can with him on the field. I take him to the side and do an individual drill with him that's suited to what he can do right now.
So ILB is what he said. That means he's going to be playing inside linebacker, which is interesting because he also talked about Nakobe Dean and his future and when we could possibly see him out there. So let's hear what he had to say regarding Nakobe Dean's time frame of getting back out on the practice field.
Well, Zach can play either spot. Again, that will, just like with Cooper, wherever we need him the most, what's best for the team, which will be determined some by who the next guy is, until Nakobe comes back, which, he won't be back for a while. That'll be TBD, that'll be a good question after 2 preseason games.
Okay, so I thought there was a lot in that answer. He said that, basically Bond can play whatever linebacker position that, there is. You could flip him around. But I thought he gave 2 very interesting answers with Campbell and Dean. He gave the timeline on when they're going to practice, and he wasn't very optimistic on either one of those guys. Now, Dean is TBD. I don't even know when to expect him. And he said Campbell getting work at ILB, which means it sounds like to start things off, it's going to be Campbell and Bond playing linebacker, and that Bond might not be playing the same position that he even played a year ago.
And also don't forget, the guy who's been getting a lot of the first-team reps at camp has been Jeremiah Trotter Jr. because Campbell cannot be a part of the contact practices right now. So there's a possibility that to start the year, Nakobe Dean might actually start the year on injured reserve, and you might see Bond with a rookie, Campbell, and or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. next to him.
Yeah, I thought that was very telling, though. And, the one question was asked about, apparently Jeremiah Trotter's father had talked about Jalen Carter, and he said, look, he hasn't even really scratched the surface. He, basically doesn't even know what he's doing. Here's what he had to say about Jalen Carter.
The good news about Jalen is twofold. One, he played very well for us last year. And 2, he can still improve a lot.
Yeah. He could play. He played well for us, and I talked about this the other day, you forget that he's going into his 3rd year. His freshman year, his rookie season, I guess if you want to throw it out there like that, he was good for about half the season. Then he kind of tailed off a little bit. Then last year, he has this dominant season. But here's Vic Fangio saying, and I don't think Vic Fangio would sugarcoat this, he hasn't really even scratched the surface on what type of player he can possibly be. So let's get into Cooper DeJean, and what his plan is, where he wants to keep Cooper.
Yeah, we'd like to keep him at nickel. And then in our base package, we'll find a spot for him, either at corner or safety. A lot of it will end up depending upon how the rest of the guys develop and where do we most need them. So it will be determined by what's best for him and what's best for the team. What's best for the team will win out in that decision. But he's capable of playing corner and he's capable of playing safety.
He is. He said safety twice. At first he kind of snuck safety in, and I wrote, did he say safety? And then he definitely said safety at the end there. So are we going to see Cooper DeJean play safety? I think that is something that will definitely now be on because there is a safety opening on this team.
And by the way, when he talks about Cooper playing safety, I don't think it's playing safety, it's the starting safety. But he said in certain schematics of the defense that there might be they want to keep Cooper on the field. So there might be a situation where they say, hey, we want Cooper on the field, but we don't have a nickel right now in the base defense, which would be 2 corners, 2 safeties, multiple linebackers.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And let's go to the safety competition that Vic Fangio discussed and the competition between their second-round pick and the guys who are already here.
It's a competition that, it's going to take a training camp, a few preseason games to sort out. And Tristan's in that too.
All right, so I like all of that. It's going to take training camp and the preseason games. So there you heard it. You're going to have a reason to watch preseason games because now you got to battle. These two guys are going to go out and play preseason games and battle it out, and then he throws McCollum in there if you want to put any stock into that.
Well, I will put stock into it for this question, Mike. Is this a sign that the Eagles do not plan to sign Justin Simmons?
If I listened to that, I would say I would not expect Justin Simmons to be here. It's a good question by you.
Because remember, now that the BG roster spot is open and that cap hold is taken off, you could financially and logistically sign him now. But if Fangio is sitting there saying, hey, we got Makuba, we got Sidney Brown, don't forget about Tristan McCollum, that sounds like a coach who has been informed by his bosses. These are who your safeties are.
Yeah, I agree. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Well, I don't know if informed by his bosses or if he said, I'm good with what I got.
Or maybe both.
Because while, yes, he could wait on signing his guy, there's no rush.
Well, for example, he made the comment at one point in the presser about when they asked him about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Well, that's a Howie decision. Fangio is kind of in the, I'm here to coach the guys. I'm not here to talk
Well, he
about
doesn't want to
stuff.
say, yeah, it's my decision. He's not that kind of guy. But what about Sidney Brown? Where is he in the competition?
Well, his experience came in 23, not 24. Last year at this time, he wasn't doing anything and didn't do anything really till the middle of October. So he lost all the this time of year, training camp, early part of the season, and really never got many reps with us defensively. It's a new system from what he had in 23. So, yes, he's sitting in meetings, but that only goes so far. Mm-hmm. You got to get out there and experience it and build on it, and he lost that last year. So that he's going through that process now.
Yeah, I know that one of the things with him is, hey, he came off that injury last year, so I can't judge him off of what he did last year. I'm not going to sit here now. When I would say 2 years ago, when he was out there, he was very reckless. He was running all over the place. He was, very much a kind of a. They've had him playing slot sometimes too. So I thought you got a little bit of a false, maybe a false way to what's the word I'm looking for to kind of judge him.
Well, you didn't get a complete package of what he can and can't do because he wasn't playing with all the information.
A false sense of the reality of what kind of player he is. He's not a slot guy. He's not going to play slot in the NFL.
Not at all.
And so I think they gave him a bad rap of playing there where people said, he can't play, he can't do this. He's a big hitter. He's a big hitter who can make big plays in the secondary.
But because he's a big hitter, maybe, Mike, that is part of the reason why when you heard Fangio say about Cooper DeJean at safety, for example, in the base package, is there a scenario where they say, look, Cooper's the better coverage guy than Sidney Brown, but we could have a situation where Sidney Brown and Cooper DeJean on the field together in the base package, because if we're loading up against the run, you'd rather have Sidney closer to the box than Cooper DeJean.
Maybe. I mean, but the Cooper DeJean playing safety thing, don't you think that throws a little stuff out it throws a little bit of a wrench in the wheel, a little bit.
A little bit, but I don't think, again, I don't interpret it as he's taking anybody's job, though. I think it's more Fangio was saying it depends on the defensive scheme.
I would just say, if that's a way, in other words, if there's a corner that emerges, did they, the kid that I like from Colorado State, whose mind, Mac McMillan, that's a guy that I like a lot, and I'm wondering if they look at him and say, man, is this a guy that we can get away with playing some slot? And that's the way we can use Cooper as a safety guy.
It's certainly possible. I think that, when they asked him about the cornerback position, he didn't really mention McMillan. He talked about Dory Jackson and Keely Ringo.
Those guys are outside players, though.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that you heard him name half the team in the press conference.
True.
A couple times.
So by not getting named, you feel he is shunned.
Not shunned, but maybe he's not high on the list right now.
All right, Geoff Mosher's here for Football at 4 today, and of course that is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds. There he is. What's going on there, Mosher? Laughing. You are muted. There you go.
All right. I'm laughing because one of you two bozos just said Mac McMillan from Colorado State. It's Mac McWilliams from Central Florida. You guys are butchering everyone. What is going on here? Who is Mac McMillan from Colorado?
Wasn't that the guy who did the Flyers song? Mac McWilliams. Meanwhile, yes, Central Florida. Did he transfer from Colorado?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's McWilliams, not McMillan.
Well,
former Eagle Mark McMillan, maybe?
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, it's June. He got drafted, over a month ago. He's been out of sight, out of mind.
You guys are the best. What's up? Well, let's talk about this Cooper DeJean stuff, right? I mean, it's pretty interesting.
Let's start with that, right? First off, Fangio, I thought, was very forthcoming and gave a lot of stuff today.
Not surprisingly. Yeah, very forthcoming. Very, although, I mean, the Bryce Huff question was like all about the hand and how tough it was to really get into the mix with the wrist injury when he came back. And I think Vic was as nice as he could be in talking around, getting the team getting rid of and trading him.
Okay, well, that's what my takeaway was. He didn't want to bash the guy. He's out the door. He'll do fine over there per him. But I thought the Cooper DeJean stuff is at the top of the list of notes that I took was he slipped in safety not once but twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean and today at the OTAs, just like last week, we saw him at outside corner and asked Cooper DeJean about it, and he said, "Yeah, I was told I'm going to practice there in base too." And now today he did that. Not just did Vic Fangio say it, but reporters saw that at the OTAs. So yeah, it's happening, and there's probably a variety of reasons that we can talk about why it's happening. But I tell you what, the under-discussed element of this, all the discussion will be, well, what does this mean at safety? What does it mean for nickel? What does it mean for corner? How about what does it mean for Cooper DeJean to have to go from one position to another at any given practice on any given day and learn how to play that position and what Vic Fangio and the coaches want? That's a pretty tall order.
Big time, and it tells you what they think of him, though, the fact that they think he can handle it. But also, similar to what he says about Zach Bond, that, he can play either spot. I thought he was very forthcoming on two things. One, Jahad Campbell will not be ready until mid-August, which means he's going to miss training camp and probably not play in preseason games, I would imagine.
I thought he said the first two preseason games, probably not, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you're going to you're going to say, hey, welcome to the NFL, go play in the third preseason game that nobody else plays in?
Didn't they do that last year with Sidney Brown?
Sidney Brown in the first-round pick, a little different, or are they in the same?
Oh, I mean, I think it's just the concept of you – and actually, they did it with Cooper DeJean, if I'm not mistaken, because the first preseason game came pretty quickly after he was activated onto the 53, and they got him out there for a little bit. So it doesn't take a whole much to have to play 10 to 12 snaps in a game. You know?
Okay, well, I would say this then. He said mid-August for him. TBD, Nakobe Dean, a while. Didn't even compare him to Campbell. So I don't know that that's I don't know that that's eye-popping, but I think it's a pretty apparent that don't be expecting Nakobe Dean to be playing against Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is what, week 4? 3?
One.
No, week 1. I'm sorry, I forgot week 1.
Wow, you're slipping today, Mac McWilliams.
I know, right? Colorado State. I've been saying on Inside the Birds, and I think I've been talking to here with you, the expectation is mid-October for Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact, though, that he, so the way, though, that Fangio said, he's like, Bond can play either spot. They're playing Campbell as an ILB at this point, which would be an inside linebacker spot. So it looks like it's going to be a Campbell-Bond because we're all wondering, hey, is Campbell a guy who's in your pass rushing mind as well?
Mm-hmm. A lot of reps. That to me just shows you that there's going to be a ton of reps for Jeremiah Trotter Jr., especially with Campbell not being able to practice till the middle of the camp. So you got Trotter Jr. and Bond as your first teamers for quite a bit. They'll get Smile Mondon in there. Mondon. I like to Cajuanize that Mondon. He should have went to LSU, not Georgia. So we can go Mondon. But Smile Mondon, and then they'll probably, in my opinion, my educated reporter opinion, spider sense, probably add to that spot with a veteran before they get into training camp.
Well, I think that's definitely, keeping an eye on that linebacker position will now be something. I thought another thing that was something today is he said it's going to be a battle at training camp and in the preseason games between the safeties. They are going to play in preseason games, which has been something we haven't had a lot of. He also made the joke is some people don't think you have to practice. No, you need to practice. And these two guys are going to work at training camp, and he mentioned McCollum, too. So he threw McCollum in there. He went out of his way to mention McCollum, but Makuba and Sidney Brown.
Yeah, and I think two things. One, it just shows you with this kind of turnover year, Vic is going to play guys and get the best idea of who's there. But I don't think it's accidental that he just talks about Tristan McCollum like that. I think it's reflective of how he feels about Tristan McCollum compared to Sidney Brown. I'm not saying he thinks McCollum's some great player, but to me, it's that Sidney Brown has to. Sidney Brown's got more competition now than even realized because he's not just competing against Drew Makuba, but McCollum's there and has been there, who's ahead of him on the depth chart after last year, and now Cooper DeJean in base. So I think you're getting an idea of how Vic has felt so far about Sidney Brown. I'm not quite calling it Bryce Huff treatment, but he's certainly making him earn it, whatever it is that Sidney Brown's going to get.
Yeah, and he went on to say, hey, last year, he didn't really get that many snaps here. It was 2 years ago.
He basically called 2 years ago even meaningless because it was in a different system and a different time. He basically said that doesn't mean anything.
Which is what we were talking about before he came on, was the fact that he was playing nickel corner, which really wasn't fair to him.
No, it was not fair to him.
What did you think about his answer about the edge rush? Oh, real quick on the safety. Josh brought up an interesting point, too. He said the answers today, did they kind of wipe out Justin Simmons as an option for you?
No, not really. I'm not that I think that Justin Simmons is definitely going to happen, but they're still at a spot where they're thin in actual proven talent. And if one guy gets hurt, then you're talking about maybe putting a guy at safety that they don't love too much, right? So there's still competition. Simmons still doesn't have a home yet. It all depends on what he's looking for from a price tag standpoint. Like the door will always be open until it doesn't happen, but I've never really thought it was going to automatically happen either. I think a sequence of events would have to happen for that arrangement to happen, and it wouldn't happen immediately. There would be training camp competition, OTAs certainly first, and then training camp.
Let's get your thoughts, Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast. Did you get the sense from that he is legitimately fine with the edge rusher position?
I think that's a good question, Mike. I definitely got the sense that he feels happy and pleased with the development of Smith and Hunt, and he expects more growth from them. So that's good.
Let's play that bite real quick. This is Vic Fangio here talking about the edge rusher position.
Yeah, I feel good about Nolan. I think we'll feel good about Jalix, now that he's going to get a lot of reps and develop. He played good for us down the stretch last year and played a lot, as you saw. So I feel good about those two guys, and I think they'll continue to improve. We've got Uche, we've got Aziz, we've got 3 other guys there. I think we'll be fine.
How do you feel if you're the 3 other guys?
If you're the 6th-round pick, Antoine Powell-Ryland, you're like, yeah,
Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech. I knew that one.
There you go. So I would say he sounded like someone who thinks that there's a good potential there. But it's not slam dunk either. It's interesting how he worded, I feel good about Nolan, and I think he said, we will feel good about Jalix, which makes me think he's certainly happy with what he sees, but he knows that there's a lot of room for growth there, and of course there is, and that they're anticipating seeing that.
All right, Geoff Mosher, let's get a couple other quick thoughts from Fangio today. One of the things Jordan Davis at the end of last season says is carried over to a great offseason. Do we expect a bigger role from Jordan Davis listening to Vic Fangio?
So I had trouble reconciling what he was saying about Jordan Davis, and I'm not saying he wasn't being honest, but he certainly was very praiseworthy of how much better Jordan Davis looked in practice and then in the games over the second half of the season. And so I guess what I have trouble reconciling is, well, why weren't you playing him that much then? I mean, you were still relegating him to basically base defense, which, as he told you in the press conference, was like 160 snaps all year. So what's that, like 10 a game? Less. So I don't know what kind of role that Jordan Davis can occupy that's even bigger, because they're going to be in nickel a lot. They're going to want to rush the passer, and they got 2 guys at least in Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo, and even the kid they picked in the 4th round, Ty Robinson, who are probably going to have a little more pass rush juice than Jordan Davis. So where in your 4-man rush are you finding more opportunities for Jordan Davis when you already have Carter and Ojomo and all those edges that we talked about? Some of them who can move inside probably and rush the passer. So we'll see. I guess we'll just have to see as it goes on.
And he was realistic. We'll leave on this, that, there was a lot of turnover from last year, the year before to last year, and that it's similar again this year, that there's a lot of turnover. That's something that he kind of said, hey, we had plenty of guys last year we didn't know a lot about.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really good analogy. Now, I would say that if you're like going to really grill him and be a cynic and go back and forth, you're going to be like, oh, well, so we should expect every year you're going to have somebody like Zach Bond emerge from somebody who nobody's ever heard of into a defensive player of the year, because that's what it took. That's what made that defense so unbelievable, along with Cooper DeJean getting in there. So are we now going to assume that Makuba as a 2nd-round pick is going to go in there and play as the same level that Cooper played in last year, and that somebody they signed or brought in is going to play at the same level as Bond did? That's where you have to stop and say that's probably not going to happen. That doesn't mean you can't be a very good defense, but he is right that last year there were a lot of question marks, and they came back with really positive answers, and he's going to do his best to make sure the question marks this year do the same.
All right, there you go. It's a Tuesday. Good stuff, Vic Fangio on a Football at 4, giving us plenty of things to kind of consume on this day, where Vic Fangio, when he speaks, we listen because he tells the truth generally.
Of course, he's one of the few people in the business that still does it.
Yeah. I'm sure the Eagles are like him and
I was going to say him and Mac McMillan out of Colorado State.
By the way, he went to UAB and then transferred.
Oh, so nothing to do with Colorado State whatsoever.
Nope, not at all. Oh, man. Got that one wrong.
Your homework assignment tonight is to figure out what made you think he went to Colorado State.
Yeah, that's weird. All right. Maybe, where'd he go? Central Florida. They wear black and gold. Colorado State's black as green and gold. There's some gold in there.
All right. Well, and what is the mascot for the Colorado State? Are they the I don't know what they are.
The Colorado
Rams?
State? They are the Rams.
Okay. And the Knights, I think, are Central Florida Knights.
Golden Knights, yeah.
Golden Knights. Right. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows, Mike?
Off base. All right. Football at 4. Geoff Mosher, everybody. I guess Adam's replacing you tomorrow, or are you back tomorrow?
Who knows? It's we're going to keep you on your toes.
All right. Well, we'll let everybody know when you get back tomorrow for Football at 4. See ya.
Penn State, Mike. Just remember that, all right? Penn State.
Hey, West Virginia's in the Super Regionals. Take care. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. There's football at 4. That's Geoff Mosher.